Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the fourth and final part of the Subliminal Messages Iceberg. Now, since this is the final part in this series, if you guys have any suggestions on what I should do next, make sure to leave it in the comments down below. Let's get into this. First up on this list, we have Palmolive, Who Can Resist the Gentle Touch of? This entry is referring to this Palmolive ad, which at a first glance looks innocent enough. But if you take a second look, you'll see that the arm touching the woman's leg is not her own, but rather one that belongs to a man. The phrase itself, "Who can resist the gentle touch of Palmolive," may have a deeper meaning. It is a proven fact that sex does indeed sell, and we've seen how prevalent this is in marketing based solely off the previous entries on this iceberg. What many believe the subliminal message here is that the ad is comparing the gentle touch of its product to the gentle touch of a man. They're trying to intertwine their product with the thought of sex as a means to persuade you to buy it. Next up on the list, we have Looney Tunes Buy Bonds. In the year 1942, a cartoon titled Leon Schlesinger, I'm sorry if I butchered that, presents Bugs Bunny, but better known as Any Bonds Today, was released by the Treasury as a means to encourage movie theater audiences to buy defense bonds and stamps. The cartoon, which featured popular Looney Tunes character Bugs Bunny, was released in the peak of World War II, and the Treasury believed that by using a lovable and familiar cartoon character, such as Bugs Bunny, the viewer would feel more willing and compelled to buy war bonds. The cartoon itself portrayed Bugs Bunny dancing around and throwing money with the word bonds on it while he sung the song Any Bonds Today, which was based on Ginger Rogers' Any Yams Today, which is from the 1938 musical Carefree. Next up on the list, we have Irreversible's low-frequency background noise. From the first 30 minutes of the film Irreversible, a low-frequency hum is played in the background. Many have said that this noise induces feelings of nausea and sickness, but others argue that it could also just be caused by this film's graphic and disturbing rape scenes. Next up on the list, we have The Young Ones flash frames. During an episode of the British sitcom The Young Ones, a video of a dove mid-flight flashes on screen for a single frame. As to why this happens, we are still unsure of to this day, but many believe it is nothing more than a hidden Easter egg for your subconscious to pick up. Next up on the list, we have J.J. Willard's Fairy Tales Bloody Texts. In the show, J.J. Willard's Fairy Tales, an animated show on Adult Swim that does a new twisted take on classic fairy tales, multiple subliminal messages are hidden within each episode. In the first episode of the first season of the show, 5 known subliminal messages appear at different points throughout the episode. 3 of these subliminal messages are lines of bloody text that flash on screen for a single frame. These 3 bloody messages read things such as, "It's okay to give up on your dreams," "Crying session at Pinocchio's house, 8 p.m. pull up," and "You can't change the past, but you can still screw up your future." The other 2 subliminal messages are pictures, one which depicts 6 skeletons carrying a witch, and the other one which depicts the same witch's head in a box. I'm not sure whether or not these subliminal messages coincide with the storyline of each episode in any way or not, but they're cool Easter eggs either way. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce this one. Here's what it's called, and here's the logo of the company. It was very difficult for me to find any information on this topic that wasn't in Spanish, but I'm assuming the reason it's on this iceberg is because of the company's logo. The logo in question is this, and at a first glance, it is undeniable that it resembles the act of sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. In fact, once I saw this, I couldn't unsee it, and it took me a while to see the actual logo, which I think is a small house surrounded by the sun. I don't know whether this design choice was intentional or not, but either way, it garnered a lot of attention online and sparked discussion. Next up on the list, we have Many Islands Low Fares. This entry is referring to the fact that the acronym of this company spells out MILF, or MILF. In fact, this company uses the acronym MILF in many of their advertisements. But why would they do this? I mean, it's kind of obvious. Sex sells. Obviously, someone buying plane tickets would gravitate towards the website that says a MILF in big letters on it. And for those of you that don't know what a MILF is, you're obviously not a teenage boy. Now we're moving on from tier 7 down to tier 8. And starting off tier 8, we have Judas Priest song triggered a suicide. This entry is referring to the theory that the Judas Priest song Better By You, Better Than Me contained hidden subliminal messages which were responsible for influencing a pair of young men in Sparks, Nevada to make a suicide pact in 1985. This suicide led to an eventual lawsuit filed by one of the man's parents who claimed that the song contained hidden messages such as, quote, try suicide, do it, and let's be dead. The lawsuit was won by the lead vocalist of Judas Priest, Rob Halford, but many still speculate whether or not the song truly influenced the suicide pact. Next up on the list, we have BTK Killer, quote, now call the chief. In 1978, Wichita, Kansas television station Kake TV, definitely not pronouncing that right, received special permission from the police to place a subliminal message in a report on the BTK Killer, BTK because he bound, tortured, and killed his victims, in an effort to get him to turn himself in. The subliminal message, which included the text, quote, now call the chief, as well as a pair of sunglasses, was deemed unsuccessful, but the killer was eventually arrested in 2005. Next up on the list, we have 1960s national anthem TV sign-off. At the end of a GVT TV program in the 1960s, a patriotic sign-off was played which contained multiple well-hidden subliminal messages. During the sign-off, multiple patriotic phrases were displayed on screen, but while these phrases were appearing, subtle hidden phrases were played behind them which were so subtle that they were only meant to be picked up by the subconscious. These hidden phrases said things such as, quote, God is real, God is watching, obey, consume, and trust the US government, as well as many other things. Many believe that this was an attempt by the US government to subconsciously control our thoughts, but nothing has ever been confirmed, so this is nothing more than speculation. Next up on the list, we have David Koresh, FBI phone calls. David Koresh was the main culprit of the Waco incident in 1993. During the 51-day standoff that took place during this incident, the FBI made a total of 754 phone calls to Koresh in an attempt to persuade him to surrender. Through these phone calls, the FBI attempted to use subliminal messages to take control of Koresh's subconscious and force him to peacefully hand himself over to the FBI agents outside. This attempt was pursued solely out of desperation due to the fact that the situation had gotten severely out of hand and was deemed unsuccessful. Next up on the list, we have AARP 2015 commercials. In an AARP PSA about caregiving, the sound of a news reporter can be heard speaking in the background, but since it is so subtle, what they are saying cannot be deciphered. That is unless you turn up the volume and mess around with the video's audio settings. If done, the following can be heard being said by the reporter, quote, riots nationwide have prompted local governments to declare martial law. The president is asking that citizens find safety and remain calm. Authorities are working to contain the outbreak. End quote. So what is this subliminal message about martial law being declared by the president after an outbreak doing in a PSA about caregiving? Well, honestly, we still don't know to this day. And with no solid explanations available, everything is left up to speculation. And for the final entry on this entire iceberg, we have Igor Smirnov. Igor Smirnov was a controversial Russian scientist best known for his role in Soviet-era mind control research, as well as an obscure field of human behavior study he called psychoecology. Smirnov was enlisted in the Soviet military in the 1980s to treat PTSD in Russian soldiers during the war in Afghanistan. He founded the Psychotechnology Research Institute at the People's Friendship University of Russia to work on ideas like psychocorrection, a term he used to denote the use of subliminal messages to alter a subject's will or even modify a person's personality without their knowledge. But anyways, guys, that is the entirety of the Subliminal Messages iceberg. I really do hope you enjoyed. And again, if you guys have any ideas on what you want me to cover next, make sure to leave it in the comments down below and I'll make sure to get to it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.